Andrew Whitworth, Amazon Prime Video NFL analyst and won a Super Bowl championship with the Rams. Big game coming up tomorrow night, Cowboys-Lions, and you can catch the pregame coverage starting at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, kickoff at 8:15 Eastern on the program. Feels like a playoff game, like an elimination game for both of these. I mean, Cowboys have to win. What about the Lions' playoff portion of this?
Yeah, I think it really does. This feels like playoff football already. I mean, you think of how hot the Cowboys are right now, winning three in a row. Opportunity for them to really fight themselves back into this playoff picture. And then for the Lions, it's, man, a season ago, how dominant they were. Felt like it was going to be a repeat this year. It's not been the consistency they've been used to. They've been banged up here recently. Now without Sam Laporta and possibly Amon St. Brown for a little bit. Man, this is going to be a challenge because obviously what Amon meant to them and everything he is to them. Dan Campbell's got his hands full now as the play caller because this is the guy who did everything for this offense, and you've got to do it against a team that's hot and a team that's looking to get themselves back in contention and has a whole lot of belief that they are a playoff football team.
And I don't know if it's this simple, Andrew, that I said at the beginning of the year, and even when they made the trade with Micah Parsons, just have an average defense because you have a better than average offense. And if you do that, you can be a playoff team. But is it that simple that they now have an average, better than average defense to go along with that offense? That's why they're so dangerous?
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. I mean, I think it's one of those things. I'm sure Jerry's walking around kind of beating his chest right now as we all criticize the trade. We all everyone had their opinion of it. And now all of a sudden you start to look at how they've been successful in defense the last few weeks. They've increased the interior. I mean, you look at Quentin Williams, you look at Kenny Clark, you look at these guys, how they've played. They're kind of starting to play with these 3D tackle looks and starting to kind of do something different, which give credit to Eberflus of kind of creating a package to use all those guys. And they've been able to slow down run games, be more efficient getting after the quarterback and effective, that in that regard. And so man, it's starting to show like, all right, if we could slow people down, at least not let them run the football on us, give ourselves an opportunity to get the football back to our offense and then play well on offense, we can win. And that's really, it wasn't like they were perfect against the Chiefs. They still gave up points and yards, but they found a way to win in those moments and give Dak one more chance. And they've got some absolute aliens on the outside right now playing receiver. And this is kind of like, to me, the best the Cowboys have looked in recent years. And it looks like they are built to go make a run right here.
Would you rather block Micah well, rather block. Who would you want to avoid, Micah Parsons or Quinnen Williams?
I would say I'd always rather have the big boys. I mean, the big boys is there's at least a lot of what's the most appropriate way I can say this? There's a lot of body to get your hands on. Let's put it that way. All right. So I like more mass that I can get a hold of, if that makes sense. So the little guys, Micah, in that sense, his height, his speed, his agility, getting your hands on those guys was always the hardest part. It's just finding a way to get in front of them. So at least with Quinnen, it might be a physical battle, and he might win a couple of those, but you weren't going to have any problem getting your hands on him. So I prefer to get my hands, in the mud a little bit and just get after it. So any guy that I could fight and wrestle with, I much preferred.
Would you rather have, if you have to pick now, would you rather have a smart quarterback or a tough quarterback?
Oh man, that's a good one. I'm going to probably say, since that you could possibly enter the category of having a really good coordinator, I'd rather have a tough quarterback because I feel like maybe there's some of those things we can handle from a coaching standpoint. But when they're tough and they're going to survive down to down, they're going to play with physicality, they're going to extend plays. There's a self-belief, I think, in that starts to be created around them and in that huddle. When I start to think of the great ones I played with, whether it be Carson Palmer or Matthew Stafford and some of those guys in Jared Goff, I start to think of how tough they were, right? And like people talk about affecting the quarterback. I mean, I never heard those guys ever complain, whine or even put emphasis on anything other than being at their best when their best is required and finding a way to respond. Those were guys you'd never hear whimper ever. I mean, Matthew Stafford, I always call him John Wayne, but he's like the baddest cowboy in the huddle. Everybody in that huddle wants to be as tough as that dude every single snap. And so you're living to try and live up to, man, I want to be tough enough that Matthew Stafford thinks I'm tough because that's the kind of dude he is.
Okay, but what do you think when you hear Jackson Dart that, hey, this isn't soccer and I'm going to be running and I'm going to continue to play this way? Is he being
I
smart?
love it.
Is he being? You're okay with your quarterback doing that?
I'm okay with what I think is going to naturally happen. We saw it with Josh Allen. We've seen it with other guys that love to get into that mix a little
Yeah, but
bit. If
Jackson
he wants
Dart's
to,
had coming out of concussion protocol. I mean, I can't
yeah,
have
I
him take
agree.
extra hits.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We can't if we want to get in the ring and swing with heavyweights, we can't control whether we're going to get punched in the head. I mean, that's just the reality. So we're playing NFL football. You're going to take some shots. You want to extend plays, you're going to take some shots. Here's what he's going to have to do. He's got to find ways that, hey, like on the sideline there. All right, those are downs, get out of bounds. Those are downs. Like as he plays and realizes, because I think sometimes we talk about this in coverage, right? Young guys coming in and figuring out, man, those guys DBs at the NFL level, they can break on a football. Oh man, I can't throw it as tight of windows as I used to could. It's not any different out in space. He's learning the speed and the violence of the game and saying, all right, ooh, you know what? I bet he flipped over sideways the other night and said, you know what? Next time I ought to get out of bounds a little faster. Or that's
I
the
don't think
reality. And so
so. I don't think so.
I love the mentality. You got to have it. I mean, that's just you look at the league right now. You got to have it. How many true sit in the pocket quarterbacks do we have that exist? And it's just not true. You got to extend plays. You got to be tough. Patrick Mahomes is one of the toughest dudes on the planet. So is Josh Allen. I mean, these dudes run and extend plays, and they've got to live in that world. But he's got to learn how to be smarter about it, and he's got to get creative in when do I do it, when do I not, when do I make sure I take care of my football team. But I also think that, Dan, we have to give him credit. Who's he playing with right now? Like, does he have a bunch of weapons that he can get rid of the football and extend to game plays to and get down the football field to? No, he doesn't. So some of that he feels like, man, if I don't do it, I don't know where to go with the football. You know, I think I'd rather assess him a year from now when you see them add some weapons. Is he still doing some of that stuff, or is he realizing, man, maybe it's better to give those guys opportunities in these situations?
Yeah, I need 25% less John Wayne with him. That
Yeah, I like that.
Mike, is that John Wayne light? Okay, is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
all
okay.
right.
Hey, look at Stafford's a great. He's a magician at it nowadays. You know, hey, listen, Matthews, hey, that ball's coming out. If somebody's unblocked, you know, he's out running in space. He's dirting that thing. We know that. He's smart that way, right? He's lived through it. I mean, that guy, if anybody's played through it and knows. So I just think it's something that we don't give them credit enough. These quarterbacks, they've got to go through that process too and learn how do I stay on the football field. And I think that's the conversation. We need you on the football field because I think Jackson Dart is going to be a really good football player.
Andrew Whitworth, Amazon Prime football analyst, coming up tomorrow night. Cowboys and the Lions. Pre-game coverage starts at 7 Eastern. Also, a Louisiana State alum. Your reaction to getting Lane Kiffin as your coach?
Oh man, you know, it's one of those you hate the college football system, you're mad about all that type stuff. At the same time, I mean, I'd be lying if I wasn't saying as an LSU Tiger, I'm excited that we have a coach that I think is going to help us be successful. But, you know, Dan, I think it's tough too because if it wasn't for the calendar or wasn't for the timing, you know, it's more leaving your team when it's happening and what that's going to do to impact the kids at Ole Miss and what they had in front of them. Because the idea that you hear of like, oh man, you promised these kids this or you built this and you're leaving it, like that's happened since I was in college. I mean, people forget Nick Saban. I was going to Florida with Steve Spurrier. Nick Saban gets hired as the LSU coach. He comes in and tells me that LSU is not a 4-year decision, it's a 40-year decision. You decide to stay in state, go to LSU. We're going to do great things. It's going to affect your whole life. Well, hey, 3 years later, we've won a national championship. That's awesome. 4 years later, he's gone. He took a big check and he's going to the Miami Dolphins. So did he lie to all the kids that came there and, hey, we're going to be built? No. I mean, that's the reality is coaches have always done this and it's always been a part of it. It's just now because of the calendar, we've entered this portal system and NIL, and now players are doing it. And we've entered this world now where that whole system needs to be reset. When it happens and why it happens and all of that. And that's more the issue to me. And unfortunately, I think it's put Lane in a really tough position. I can say this. I can both be excited that LSU got Lane Kiffin to be their head coach and say that if I was in that position, I don't think I could have done it. I don't think I could have left the kids in that moment to not finish that season. I think I would have just waited and seen what other opportunities there are out there for me. That's me personally, but that's my personal decision, and Lane Kiffin needed to make his own.
I have told this story before. There was a kid who was, and his dad, they were meeting with a college coach at a big university, and it was a Sunday. And they were meeting with him, and they wanted to know, hey, are the rumors true that you might be, looking at a job in the NFL? And he goes, nope, I'm going to be here. So the kid signs. Next day, coach goes to the NFL. Like, come on.
Yeah. I'll give you an example, Dan. Last year, Bryce Underwood. I was at LSU when he was there. He was down there for the game. Literally conversations with him, his family, everything. Like, hey, only place this kid's ever wanted to play, LSU. This is where he's going to go to school. This is where, like, this is everything to us. The next week is when the whole entire Michigan news came out, the check, everything. And I'm going, I just looked this kid in the eyes like 6 days ago. And he told me that I would never want to play anywhere else other than be an LSU Tiger. And that's not a bash on him. It's just that is the reality. As soon as somebody else comes in, big money, it's hard to tell these people to turn that kind of stuff down. It's life-changing money, and people need to make their own decisions. And that's my point. Lane Kiffin made the best decision for him and his family. Who am I to judge that? But I would say that if I was in that position, I do think it'd be hard for me to leave my football team. I don't think I would do it.
And this since retired coach that when NIL came out, and he says, "Oh, who's going to sign linemen? They're just going to give them like pizza." And I go, "Linemen are going to make big money because that's where you win in college football. Your offense and defensive line. I mean, look at Georgia. You win in the trenches.
Yep.
And I mean, certainly in the NFL. But I thought, how naive to think you're not going to spend money on your edge rusher or your offensive lineman, just like you do in the NFL. But, I mean, what's the biggest payout that you've heard for an offensive lineman in college football?
I don't know. I don't follow a lot of the NL stuff, but I think it is going to continue to be something that's going to be huge. We've seen it in the NFL, right? We've seen these teams that think, hey, you can try to go the skill route and not invest in that position as much, and you just don't see winning happening. The teams that have good offensive lines and defensive lines that want to win up front are the teams we're talking about at the end of the year, every single year. You look at some of the best teams in the NFL this season, again, it's all teams that's where they learn to win in the trenches. And then the other pieces obviously are massive. Having a quarterback, having skilled players in both sides of the football, all those things are massive. But if you don't have the foundation of what creates football success, you're living in a pretty temporary building in the sense that at any point it can be cut out from underneath you. And look, this Detroit team that's playing tomorrow night is a great example of that. You look at how good they were up front, how dominant they were last season. You lose Zeitler, you replace your interior. Frank Ragnow retires. You got all new guys up there. The young guy Ratledge is playing good, but he's not a veteran yet, right? And then the other guys have been banged up and not as played as well. The interior pressure on Jared Goff has been totally different this year. He's been getting hit more. Like, it changes your football team, but they still have all those other guys, Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamison Williams and all the talents all out there. But when you start to change that group up front, it changes your football team.
If the Cowboys get into the playoffs, what is the ceiling?
As good as their defense can play. I think we're still
But can
in a
they
world
win a
where we got
Super
to see
Bowl?
more.
Can they win a Super Bowl?
Here's what I would say about this season, Dan Patrick. I think we have seen throughout the year. I don't know if there's a team that's unbeatable. I think Carolina beating at LA last week shows us that. I think the parity it truly is. We use that word all the time. We say it, but look week to week. I mean, there's not a team that you go, man, if I go the Denver Broncos, great defense. Bo Nix and the offense have left me like wanting a lot more for a lot of weeks. I go to the Patriots, man, maybe they're for real. I mean, Drake May, you look at them, but then I go back and I go, wait, didn't they get beat by the Raiders and the Steelers this year? Like, it's teams where you go, man, this team's unbeatable, but whoa, they lost to who? And so it's tons of that this year. I don't think there's a team that you sit there and go, man, this team without questions making a run. I think we're going to see who's hot and who's healthy, and that team has got a chance to go win a Super Bowl this year. Because if you look at Dallas, what do teams love to do right now? I mean, you play man to man this game matchup against Detroit, and you're going to try to who's got George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Which one do you want to cover? And teams are having to do that. That's one of the things that they're doing really well. They're splitting them up, and they're saying, which guy do you want to lean to? We got the quarterback. People forget how good Dak Prescott is, and we'll go to whichever guy you don't lean to, and we can win. And so I think, to me, how good can the defense be? How healthy can they be? That gives their ceiling, because they got an opportunity to go score with anybody in the NFL. And right now, if you look at offensive football, I mean, there's a lot of teams, even the good ones, that have seemed to really struggle with being consistent on offense.
I think Brian Kelly's accent is better than yours.
There's no question. That was probably the first moment that everybody should have been like, "Whoa." So I I get it if I go down there. Ryan Fitzpatrick always gives me crap. As soon as I go down there to a game or I go visit, we have a Saints game. We come back and he's like, "Wait, what happened to you?" And I'm like, "Dude, it comes out." I get back around it. I have a couple fried shrimp and get some remoulade and some etouffee, and it starts folding out there.
Great to talk to you again. Thank you, buddy.
Always appreciate it, brother.
Andrew Whitworth, he'll be on the call, the pregame festivities for Amazon Prime. Yeah, I was waiting for the accent, but there's certain places where you go back to, and all of a sudden it gets a little thicker. Like somebody will go back to Brooklyn or go to Long Island, Texas, certain parts of the South. Yeah, Seton.
Yeah, I spend a little time in New Jersey. My coffee starts tasting a little more like coffee. It comes back. It does.